There's a silent battle happening inside every single one of us. The battle between the voice that says I can and the one that whispers I can't. The truth is, the difference between the life you dream of and the one you settle for begins with the thoughts you allow to live in your mind. Your mindset is the architect of your reality. If your mind is full of doubt, fear, and negativity, it will build a cage around your potential. But if your mind is filled with belief, faith, and hunger, it will build wings. When Kobe Bryant stepped onto the court, he wasn't just fighting the opponent. He was fighting the inner voice that questioned if he was ready, if he was enough. And every single day he chose to destroy that voice. That's what made him unstoppable. You have that same power. The mind is your weapon. It can either be the reason you fail or the reason you rise. Destroy your negative mindset before it destroys your dream. Start by catching your thoughts. Every time you say, I can't, replace it with, I will. Every time you think of quitting, remind yourself why you started. Train your mind the way athletes train their bodies, daily, deliberately, relentlessly. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being powerful from within. When you learn to silence the doubt, your purpose will speak louder. You were never meant to live small. You were meant to rise beyond the limits of your own mind. Every thought you allow to live in your mind plants a seed in the garden of your life. Your reality, your actions, your emotions, they all grow from that soil. When your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, you begin to live small without even realizing it. You start seeing problems instead of opportunities, walls instead of doors, reasons to quit instead of reasons to fight. But when your thoughts are rooted in belief, in self-trust, in vision, everything changes. The world doesn't suddenly become easier, but you become stronger. You start to recognize that your life mirrors the energy of your thinking. And the only way to change your life is to first change what's happening inside your mind. It starts the moment you wake up. The way you talk to yourself before the world even speaks to you determines how you show up. Tell yourself you are not enough, and you'll act like it. Tell yourself you are capable, resilient, and chosen for something greater, and you'll start to walk with purpose. The mind listens to everything you say to it. It takes every word as truth, whether it builds you or breaks you. That's why awareness is everything. You must become the guardian of your mind, filtering what enters and what stays. Not every thought deserves your belief. Not every fear deserves your focus. Not every doubt deserves your attention. Abracad. When you begin to consciously choose empowering thoughts, your energy shifts. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. You start aligning your mindset with your goals instead of your fears. You start feeling an inner strength that doesn't depend on circumstances or validation. That's the power of mindset. It doesn't just influence what you see. It changes who you become. And when your inner world transforms, your outer world follows naturally. Doubt is like a slow poison that seeps into your mind, disguising itself as logic, as reason, as caution. It whispers things that sound believable, that you're not ready, that you're not good enough, that maybe this dream isn't for you. And the more you listen to it, the stronger it becomes. It begins to control your choices, shape your actions, and shrink your potential until you start believing that your limitations are real. But they are not. They are only reflections of your thoughts, illusions created by fear that you've mistaken for truth. The moment you realize that doubt is not a fact but a feeling, you start taking your power back. Our destroying doubt begins with recognizing its voice. It often sounds familiar because it wears the tone of your own voice, but it's not truly you. It's a reflection of past experiences, failures, and fears that you've carried for too long. The key is not to fight the doubt, but to replace it. Replace it with conviction, with faith, with the belief that you can figure things out no matter how long it takes. Every person who achieved greatness had to silence that same voice. They didn't do it by ignoring it. They did it by drowning it out with stronger beliefs, with louder purpose, with relentless consistency. When you choose to believe in yourself, even when it doesn't make sense, you begin to build a new identity. You stop identifying with the person who doubts and start becoming the person who acts. You start seeing doubt as a test, a signal that you're stepping into new territory, into a level you've never been before. And that's a good sign because it means you're growing. Growth is uncomfortable, and doubt will always try to pull you back to comfort. But comfort never made anyone legendary, bruh. The moment you decide to destroy doubt is the moment your life starts expanding. You begin to move with clarity instead of hesitation, with confidence instead of fear. You stop asking for permission to pursue your dreams because you understand that no one else can see what's inside you. You stop waiting for the perfect time because you realize there never will be one. Doubt loses its power the moment you take action in spite of it. And each step forward builds evidence that you are more capable than you once believed. My mind is like a muscle. It grows through resistance, repetition, and intentional training. Just like your body weakens without movement, your mind weakens without challenge. Every day you either train your mind to believe in your power or let it drift into patterns of fear and self-doubt. Discipline of the mind is not something that happens once. It's a lifelong process of awareness and control. Most people don't lose to life because they're incapable. They lose because they never learn how to discipline their thoughts. They allow every negative idea, every fear, every external opinion to dictate how they feel and what they do. But those who rise above average are the ones who learn to command their inner voice. They build mental toughness the same way athletes build physical strength, by showing up every single day, even when they don't feel like it. Training, the mind begins with awareness. You must become conscious of what you feed your mind, the conversations you entertain, the content you consume, the self-talk you repeat. If you constantly feed your mind weakness, you cannot expect strength to come out. If you constantly repeat negative affirmations, you cannot expect confidence to grow. Mental discipline is about choosing what deserves your attention. You cannot control every thought that enters your mind, but you can control which thoughts you allow to stay. When a negative idea arises, observe it, then redirect your focus towards something that aligns with your purpose. That's how you rewire the brain. Not overnight, but through consistent repetition of empowering patterns. Discipline also means learning to act with purpose, not emotion. There will be days when motivation disappears, when exhaustion whispers louder than ambition. Those are the days your discipline must take over. Kobe Bryant once said, "I don't negotiate with myself. That's the mindset of a champion." When your emotions tell you to quit, your discipline reminds you why you started. When the world doubts you, your discipline keeps you focused. Every rep, every early morning, every small act of consistency builds a stronger mental core. Over time, your mind learns to stay calm under pressure, to stay steady in chaos, to stay committed in discomfort. That's when real growth begins. A disciplined mind doesn't depend on outside circumstances to perform. It's not controlled by weather, mood, or motivation. It operates on intention. It focuses on what must be done, not on how it feels about doing it. That's what separates the great from the average. The ability to do what's necessary regardless of the emotional climate. When you master this, you become unstoppable because your focus is no longer fragile. You become grounded, unshakable, and unbreakable. The storms will come, the failures will happen, but your mindset remains unbent. That's how legends are made, not through talent alone, but through disciplined thought repeated over years until greatness becomes the only option replacing fear. With faith and action is one of the most powerful transformations you can experience in life. Fear will always exist. It's a natural part of being human. It shows up when you try something new, when you take a risk, when you step outside the comfort that has kept you safe but small. But the truth is, fear is not your enemy. In many ways, it's your compass. It appears in front of the very things you are meant to do. The presence of fear is often the signal that you are standing at the edge of growth. And the only way to move beyond it is not to run from it, but to move through it. The more you face it, the smaller it becomes. The more you avoid it, the more power it gains over you. Faith, on the other hand, is the opposite energy. Faith doesn't demand that you have all the answers. It only asks that you take the first step, even when you can't see the entire path. It's the quiet belief that something greater than fear is guiding you forward. When you choose faith over fear, you begin to shift your energy from paralysis to movement. Fear keeps you frozen, replaying the same scenarios, imagining the worst outcomes. Faith opens you to possibilities, reminding you that even if things go wrong, you will find a way to rise again. Every successful person you admire has faced moments of deep fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, but they acted anyway. Action is the bridge between fear and faith. Without action, faith becomes just hope, but with action, it becomes power. Time you move despite fear, you send a message to your mind that fear no longer controls you. You start to rewrite your mental story from one of hesitation to one of courage. Say, fear feeds on inaction. The longer you wait, the louder it becomes. That's why action is medicine for fear. You don't need massive steps. You just need movement. Start small, but start now. The act of doing builds momentum, and momentum builds confidence. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. You begin to realize that fear was never as strong as you imagined. It only looked that way because you were standing still. Once you move toward it, it starts to dissolve. Faith grows the same way, through repetition, through trust, through proving to yourself that you can handle what comes your way. With each step, your faith becomes stronger, your fear weaker, your vision clearer. Kobe Bryant understood this deeply. He played through pain, through pressure, through moments when fear could have broken anyone else. But he trusted the work, the process, the hours he put in when no one was watching. That's faith in motion. Believing that your preparation will carry you when doubt tries to shake you. You may not have control over outcomes, but you always have control over your effort, your discipline, and your belief. That's what faith is, showing up even when the results are uncertain. It's choosing to move forward not because you're fearless, but because you refuse to let fear decide your story. The more you act from faith, the more your life aligns with growth. You stop seeing fear as a wall and start seeing it as a test. You begin to trust that even if you fall, it's part of the climb. You start creating from courage, speaking from conviction, living from purpose, and soon fear loses its grip because your actions prove it wrong again and again. Faith is not about having no fear. It's about walking with fear, but keeping your focus on something higher. It's knowing that every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. The key is to stay in motion because faith is built through movement, not thought. The greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't with the world outside you. It's with the voice inside your head. The one that tells you to give up when things get hard. The one that whispers you're not enough. The one that convinces you that maybe your dreams are too big for you. That inner war is constant and it's ruthless. You can't escape it, but you can learn to master it. Every day you wake up, that battle begins again between your doubts and your discipline, between your excuses and your execution, between your comfort and your calling. Most people lose not because they aren't capable, but because they surrender too early. They let their fears speak louder than their purpose. They let emotions control their mission. But those who win, those who rise, are the ones who learn to quiet that noise and keep moving forward anyway. Winning the battle within starts with awareness. You must understand that your mind can either be your best ally or your worst enemy. When you don't take control of it, it takes control of you. It feeds on negativity, on comparison, on insecurity. It creates fake stories that sound real, that you're behind, that you're not talented enough, that others are better. But none of that is truth. It's just fear disguised as reason. You have to learn to separate your truth from your thoughts. Your thoughts are not commands, they're suggestions. You don't have to believe everything your mind tells you. The real power comes when you choose which thoughts to feed and which to starve or broker. This inner battle is won through repetition, not perfection. It's not about silencing every negative voice. It's about refusing to obey it. You train your mind the way warriors train their instincts, through consistency, through struggle, through self-awareness. Every time you push past fear, every time you act despite doubt, you're strengthening the voice that says, I can. It's like building muscle. It takes effort, but the strength lasts forever. You become mentally unshakable when you learn to stay calm in chaos, focused under pressure, determined through pain. That's how greatness is built, not by avoiding the battle, but by facing it every single day until victory becomes your default state. Brahi. There will be moments when your mind tells you it's too late, when it reminds you of every failure, when it tries to convince you that your best days are behind you. That's when you must fight hardest. Because in that very moment, when everything inside you wants to quit, that's where transformation begins. That's where you redefine who you are. You learn that strength isn't about never feeling weak. It's about choosing to rise even when you do. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when your emotions scream otherwise. You stop letting your feelings make decisions for you and start letting your purpose lead the way. The voice of purpose is quiet but firm. It doesn't shout, it guides. And if you listen closely, it always points you forward. The greatest warriors of life are not the ones who never struggle, but the ones who struggle and still move. They face doubt, fear, and pain just like everyone else, but they've learned how to respond differently. They don't waste energy fighting emotions. They channel them. They turn pain into fuel, disappointment into discipline, rejection into redirection. They understand that every negative emotion can serve a higher purpose if you refuse to let it control you. That's the art of mastering the inner war, transforming resistance into strength, turning chaos into clarity, and making your inner voice your strongest ally instead of your enemy. Beret, the mind will test you in ways no one else can see. It will tell you to play it safe, to avoid failure, to settle for comfort. But the truth is, comfort kills growth. Growth comes from discomfort, from stepping into fear, from embracing uncertainty. That's where character is built. You learn that the pain you feel today is the price of the strength you'll carry tomorrow. The battle inside you will never fully end, but it will evolve. The more you fight it with awareness, with purpose, with faith, the easier it becomes to win. And each victory, no matter how small, builds an unbreakable spirit that no setback, no failure, no fear can destroy. The mind is a battlefield. And every single day you wake up, the war begins again. World outside may challenge you, but nothing will ever challenge you more than the thoughts that live inside your head. They're invisible, but they shape everything you see, everything you feel, and everything you do. When your mind is clouded by doubt, fear, and negativity, even the smallest obstacles look impossible. But when your mind is fueled by belief, courage, and purpose, mountains start to look like steps. The strength to rise, to build, to endure doesn't come from the body, it comes from the mind. That's why those who master their mindset become unstoppable. They don't live free of struggle. They live free of surrender. Every day presents you with two choices, to the voice of limitation or the voice of possibility. The voice of limitation will always be louder at first. It will remind you of your failures, your flaws, your past. It will tell you to stay safe, to stop dreaming, to settle for less. It will sound logical because fear often pretends to be wisdom. But you must recognize that logic rooted in fear is a lie. The voice of possibility, on the other hand, speaks softly. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you that you're capable, that you were made for more, that there's strength inside you that hasn't been tested yet. The more you listen to that voice, the more it grows. The more you believe in it, the more powerful it becomes. Every great person who ever walked this earth learned to tune out the noise of doubt and tune into the whisper of faith, Abri. The key to winning the war within is understanding that your thoughts are choices, not commands. You can't stop negative thoughts from appearing, but you can choose not to entertain them. You can acknowledge fear without bowing to it. You can recognize pain without letting it define you. It's not about having complete control over your mind. It's about mastering your response to it. You train your inner world the same way an athlete trains their body, through repetition, through struggle, through consistent practice. You build mental resilience by confronting resistance, not avoiding it. Every moment you decide to move forward when your mind screams to stop, you grow stronger. Every moment you choose action over hesitation, your mindset sharpens. That's how you build inner armor ibraki. Kobe Bryant understood this truth deeply. He didn't become great because he avoided struggle. He became great because he embraced it. His mentality was forged in pain, discipline, and self-belief. He knew that talent was only part of the equation. Mindset was everything. He once said, "The moment you give up is the moment you let someone else win." That applies not just to competition, but to life. When you give up on your dreams, on your discipline, on your potential, you hand victory to your inner doubt. When you fight through the noise, when you keep going even when no one's watching, you reclaim control. That's the essence of the warrior mindset, the refusal to surrender to the weaker parts of yourself. Ibri, the mind will always test your strength. It will tempt you with comfort. It will distract you with comparison. It will exhaust you with fear. But comfort is the enemy of growth, and fear is the enemy of progress. The more you give in to them, the smaller your world becomes. The more you challenge them, the more your world expands. Growth happens in discomfort, in those moments when you're unsure, scared, or uncertain. That's where transformation begins. Every time you face fear and act anyway, you're rewriting the script of your life. You're teaching your mind that faith is stronger than fear, that purpose is louder than pain, that vision is greater than doubt. The person who learns to win inside will always win outside. The greatest victories don't happen in public. They happen in silence, when you push yourself one more time, when you choose focus over distraction, when you decide not to quit, even when no one would blame you if you did. That's where greatness is born. You don't need applause. You don't need validation. You don't need the world to believe in you. You only need to believe in yourself long enough to see the results of your discipline. The moment you start trusting your own process more than your fears, your life begins to shift. The doubt doesn't disappear, but it loses control. The fear doesn't vanish, but it loses direction. You start leading your mind instead of following it. You must understand that winning the battle within is not a one-time victory. It's a lifelong fight. There will always be days when the old voice tries to return, when the temptation to quit feels heavy, when the path seems unclear. But each time you rise again, each time you choose strength over surrender, you build a version of yourself that is unbreakable. True greatness isn't about never falling. It's about becoming the kind of person who can rise no matter how hard they fall. The real power lies not in avoiding the darkness, but in learning how to shine through it. That's what separates the average from the extraordinary. Not luck, not talent, but mental mastery.